Yay, howdy. We are live on YouTube. So we are, I don't know what that accent was. I'm Carolyn J. Carpenter, and I am live here on the Hollywood Gatekeepers channel. We do live trainings every single week. Typically, we do them via Facebook as well as YouTube at 5 o'clock every single Wednesday. So today, it doesn't really matter what day it is to you, I know as you're watching this, but we had one yesterday and it didn't go very well because we had some internet issues. So I decided just to do a new YouTube video that we are going to post in the Facebook page covering the things that we talked about yesterday because you couldn't hear me. So anyway, no need to go into all the details, but I thought I would go through the things that we talked about yesterday, post it in the Facebook group and on the YouTube channel. So I'm Carolyn J. Carpenter. It won't be the same because we don't have as many people that do live comments, but if you happen to see us that we're live, feel free to jump on in. I think you can jump into chat and say something, say hello, say that you're here. Hey, and there's Doug, it's working, yay. This is the first time we've tried this direct to YouTube live with Doug here. Doug is my partner, I'm Carolyn, he's Doug. He says smart things in the comments while I ramble on live. That's how we roll here at Hollywood Gatekeepers. So we are readers. What is a reader? Well, you are on the Hollywood Gatekeepers channel. You can find out what a reader is. There's a lot of videos on here about that. So check it out. We have over 100 videos. We talk all about the reading process. A reader is someone who analyzes screenplays. So we also talk about what does a reader write? What do they look for? What are they looking for? What is a reader? So as you can see, Doug puts it into print so you can see. We also will have comments below. We'll have show notes below, and you can download free things. We give away gifts. It's very fun. So we give away gifts about, we have a free guide that you can download. Just click on the link below and you can download a free guide that explains a little bit more about it. And then every single week, we do live trainings with different topics. This week, it happens to be action films. So you can find out about your action film. You can find out what are the things that should go into an action film. This is a two-parter, so we'll be quickly kind of reviewing some things about that, about the nuts and bolts of an action screenplay. And then next week, we'll talk a little bit more about kind of the characters and that kind of things that you would add in a screenplay. So we have a handout as well. Just look in the show notes below, and you can download a free handout that will guide you through the things that some of the things. These are all brief, just kind of tips, get you going. We just want to inspire you. And we do a lot here with Hollywood Gatekeepers. So we teach all about how to become a reader, like what you need to know, how it all works, how to write a coverage, which is like a book report that readers write about screenplays, how to do all of that. We have free trainings, we have free workshops, we do this every week, we have a mailing list, we have a Facebook group. So if you're not in there, we have the link below. You can join that as well. We have a ton of ways that you can learn. We also have a paid course that you can take, and that's another way that you can get involved. Well, I just want to share something that happened because this is going to be in the Facebook group. And so if you're not in there, you got to get in there because there's so many, like thousands and thousands of people in there sharing all of their ideas and sharing all kinds of stuff. So if you're not in there, definitely get in there. But something happened with our group that we want to share. So we have a paid course, like I said, and in that course, we have people that are learning how to be readers. And so they're practicing reviewing screenplays of other screen readers that are in there that have written screenplays. We have a thing called the writer's room within our paid course. And so people that are in the writer's room, they post their screenplays so that we can all kind of practice. So we have readers that practice writing coverage and writers that practice getting their screenplay covered. And it's amazing. It works really well. So we have a reader named Peggy, and she covered a screenplay by a writer named Mickey. Are you with me? Are you following this? So typically they're in here making comments and we can talk to them, but they're not right now. But they're in the group. So definitely you'll see the comments. You see Mickey makes comments in the group quite a bit. So Doug and I also are writers and producers, and we've been working, very long story, on a project with a group of producers that want to do a horror film. They've been looking for a horror script. We had decided to write this horror script. They had commissioned us to write this horror film for this slate of films that they want to do. Well, meanwhile, we see this coverage come in, and so Peggy's, working on how to become a reader. Clearly she's good at it because she wrote this coverage that covered one of the scripts. Other readers had covered this script, but she found what we call the hidden gem in this script. And it's a really unique twist that happens in this. And we read that coverage and we thought, you know what? Rather than write this screenplay ourselves, why don't we see if if we can option his screenplay and rewrite it for this project? Because it has some problems, it has some holes, there's some things that need to be worked on, but the premise and the gem that we teach our readers to discover is definitely there. So we talked to him, he's on board. Fast forward, we are now going to be rewriting this script. We're so excited. We're writing it with him on board. He will get writer's credit, and then we're working on producing that film. All because of one of our readers that found the hidden gem of one of our other writers. We're just so excited that this is all coming together kind of in-house and family, basically. So we are really excited. And so what we're going to be doing is we have another course that we help writers finish their screenplays. And so we realized that we've done this kind of a beta version of it where people were putting in pages and we're kind of helping people. But we realized what might be helpful with this is if we take this process of rewriting the screenplay and put it within our finished course. So we'll give you more details about that later. But if you look in the show notes, we'll put links to things that you can check it out. But basically, we are going to be in this course walking everyone through this process. And meanwhile, Mickey's going to be writing his second screenplay. It turned out this was his first screenplay. We had no idea, but he's going to be writing his second screenplay along with it. So he'll be writing so that, because one of the main things that happens is you need to have more than one screenplay. So as we rewrite and produce his work, he will be working on his next work so that he is ready to go when the next producer needs a new project, right? So exciting. So we wanted to make that announcement because that is not something that we planned to do. It was maybe a long-term goal, but we hadn't really thought about it, that it would happen this way. But things have just fallen into place in this particular fashion. So we are really excited about that. And so we wanted to make sure that that news got out there so you guys can see Mickey on this page and Peggy on this page, and you can give them kudos and be like, what's up? Because it's so cool, right? We're super cool. So now Doug's like telling you in real time here what's going on. So definitely that's one of the things we talk about as is a reader's skill, is being able to find a screenplay. There are definitely problems with the screenplay. It's his first screenplay. Come on, like he's out there and he's working and he's doing it, but he just hasn't, it's his first screenplay. So there's some things that we can fix and really help move this project along, but there's also a really cool twist in it. And not only did Peggy find the twist, but she was like, burp, burp, hey, check this out. There's a cool twist in here that could potentially be sequel worthy. So it was like we've had people that cover the script kind of say, here's what works, here's what doesn't work. But she was like, yeah, there's problems, there's this, but this thing is super cool. And so that's kind of one of the things that we teach to our readers, is finding that diamond in the rough. This whole project with these producers came about because they gave us a script originally just to cover. And then we were like, oh, there's something really cool here. They wanted us to cover and help them because they were planning to produce it. Well, then they brought us on board, decided to produce their screenplay, but it's not quite ready. And they decided to start with a horror film. I'm like condensing a few years of going around in circles and figuring out what we wanted to do into this story. But they decided they wanted to do a horror film, start with that, and then move on to their project. So we're really excited. It's going to be really cool. I'm sure there'll be ups and lows and all kinds of things, but we're really excited about that. We've brought someone in that's brand new to this whole process, and that we've managed to find a way to produce a script from this whole experience of Hollywood Gatekeeper screeners and everything. So we're really excited about the whole process. So we wanted to share that before we talk about our topic, which is action. So we at Screenreaders and Hollywood Gatekeepers, we like to talk about screenplay writing, screenplay formatting, screenplay whatever, as well as the writer's life. As a reader, it is a reader's job, in our opinion, and all of this comes from our experience and our opinion. There might be millions of people out there that say they don't know what they're talking about. Yeah, that's true. As many people as there are in Hollywood, there are that many ways to do things. This has been our experience of the whole reading process, been doing it for a really long time. So as we talk about this, we also talk about the fact that readers, in our opinion, should not be the gatekeeper. Like, that's the general way that people refer to readers, is get your script past that reader. How to get the reader's going to stop you. what we feel a reader's job is to figure out ways, like we've just done with Mickey, is figure out ways to open that door. You're like looking, people want projects. They want the script to be good. And there's this weird thing of people saying that, oh, you know, yeah, be a reader, you'll read a bunch of terrible scripts, but that's not the goal. The goal is to find the little nugget, even in a script that has some problems. Like there are scripts out there that with a little TLC can become amazing scripts. And so that is something that we really, really promote. So we also talk about, so you're a champion for that writer. You are a support system for producers. Producers are amazing. They're juggling so many things. And so you are the person that they need to find those scripts that work so they can make more movies. That's how this whole thing works. So within that, there's some push-pull that happens, you know, as readers. We have to kind of be aware of our life. And so we know that you are there to support that writer. So we want to give you tools that you can use as a reader. So when you do cover someone's script, especially if a writer hires you just to do coverage of their script, you can be a champion for them and you can say, hey, maybe try this or do that. And you can give them suggestions. So we like to give you as many tools as we can. So as you go through these tips about your action film as a writer, you can also, as a reader, we're giving you these kind of ways that you can sort of help inspire writers as well. So we're hoping that we inspire you if you're a writer, and that we inspire you as a reader to be a support system for that writer. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. So let's go through it, shall we? So if you'd like to follow along, we have the link in the show notes below. You can just scroll on down and find that link. And I'm just going to kind of go through them quickly here. Basically, we have 8, my lord, running joke. Anyway, we have 8 things that we're going to talk about very quickly of things to include in your screenplay when you are writing in the action genre. So the genre of an action films are very popular for studios because they do well overseas, because the dialogue isn't that important in terms of it's more universal, and you can kind of know what's happening in an action film without, you know, you'll have subtitles, but it's a little bit easier. So they do well overseas. They also do well straight to video. People like action movies. They're real escapism. It's a very universal thing. Everyone, you know, most people anyway, I don't want to say everyone, but most people like the hero story. It's a way that it's a universal theme. So action films are very popular. So when you're writing an action film, it needs to be very visceral. You need to be able to pack with action words. You need to, we suggest, and this is Doug's idea, which is awesome, that you listen to an MMA match, a wrestling match, because you'll hear these like amazing words, like mixed martial arts. They use these really visceral words, right? So listen to that. That might help get you inspired with some of the words that you need to know. Talk about onomatopoeia. I can say it. Those are those words like smash, crash, you know, kind of like, you know, a Batman comic where you have these big words. You can use those words in a screenplay. You can literally say crash, smash, that kind of thing, to kind of move the story along. And those kind of words also are sound cues, and sound cues in the screenplay are typically in all caps. So that can make some action happen. As long as you don't overuse it, it can make a screenplay move really, really well. Which brings us to the pacing. The pacing of a screenplay of an action genre needs to really move, right? But it also needs to breathe. So if you're having this fast, you know, crazy action, then it needs to move in a fast clip style. But if you're doing slow-mo, which is, you know, the Matrix, or you're having this kind of space in your action film that creates tension, you need to write it in that fashion. So you get these moments. And even when an action film, you know, that kind of pacing, you can have, there's nothing, if you bombard someone with action the whole time, they'll start to tune out. We can't take it. We need these down times to get to know your characters and to breathe. And so your screenplay kind of needs to move with that. And we'll talk about that a little bit more in things to avoid. But also, it needs to be believable, right? So there's certain, when you set up a rule in a screenplay, action films often have rules. For instance, the kind of obvious one is like kryptonite. Superman can't handle kryptonite, not his buddy. But if suddenly Superman's juggling kryptonite, you need to have some compelling reason why that's possible. So if you set up a rule with Thor's hammer, and then some random guy can pick up Thor's hammer, there needs to, then that's something's with that random guy. You can't just break the rule, you'll lose people. So if you set up those rules, you need to stick to them. This is also true in the horror genre, where if you set, well, in any genre in particular, but in these two, it's really a big deal. If you set up some rule about the ghost, that if you throw water on the ghost, they're going to sizzle and die, and then suddenly it's raining and the ghost is like, then that's not going to work, right? You need to stick to that genre. So it needs to be believable in that way. So also it needs to start with a huge punch, and as Doug says, and end with a flurry. So it needs to have, the opening scene of any screenplay is very, very important. But in the genre, just like the horror, it needs to be like, genres need to come out the gate. Action films need to come out that gate so strong, right? Those first 10 pages, that first big flurry of action, or the setup to action needs to be compelling. It doesn't necessarily have to be some big fight, but it needs to have some really compelling moment. Super, super important in this genre. So if you think of like Indiana Jones and James Bond and Jurassic Park, they have these amazing, like massive openings, right? So also, if you set an action film in an interesting place, we're on number 6 now, you can set it in an interesting place. Like if you're having a fight scene and the ice is cracking underneath the fight scene, that's going to add something to it. Putting that thing, like, that amazing fall that Tom Cruise does, kind of fall, run, slide down the big building. That is amazing, right? So when you set these amazing places, that can really add to your action film. It also needs to have some surprises, twists and turns, a little bit more than what you might see in some other kinds of movies. It needs to have some real things that you didn't expect. The action genre can be really tough. And as a reader, I've read many, 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 many action scripts that really fall flat. And part of that is because they're not surprising. And we'll get into the things to avoid. And these are the things, when we get into that, those are the things that you see. One of the things about reading an action script that's not very good, though, is that you can read it quickly. Why? Because it's so predictable. So you have to remember the volume of scripts that readers read. It's a lot. And if they're good readers, and actually there's a saying out there that readers, don't read entire screenplays and that kind of thing. Most readers, worth their salt, they'll get fired if they don't read your screenplay. That's their job. So they are really, and readers that love reading and readers that are passionate about the development process, they absolutely read your screenplays. They want to see what's happening. However, if you're reading a screenplay that doesn't have surprises, that's really generic, you can read it very quickly because it's so like, yep. Like it's not helping you, it doesn't move forward in a way that's compelling. So you definitely want those twists and turns. And then also, you want to make sure, so storytelling in general, basically, and I'm sort of generalizing here, in general, did I say general enough? It has like 3 sort of basic kinds of storytelling, and there's many umbrellas that fit under these 3 realms. But one is, man or person, just kind of the generic term for man, versus another man. So man versus man, or person versus person, or human versus human, however you want to say it. But it's basically 2 people or entities, Star Wars, the whole Death Star, like 2 entities battling each other. And then you have man versus machine, and there's many things that can fit into that, like nature or robots or something that is not a human element. Disaster films, man versus nature. But then the third thing is man versus himself, or the inner turmoil that happens. And the thing about action films is they usually have one of these 2 things that we just talked about. But the thing that makes them very compelling is that inner struggle. And often poorly written action films forget about that third thing. And so they don't have this inner struggle. The action as a whole needs to have an arc, as in terms of solving the problem of the asteroid coming to Earth or whatever it is. Like we need to solve that problem of the dinosaurs that have come back. There's that thing that happens, but also there needs to be an underlying story of the scientist that needs to, redeem themselves, or there's some kind of thing that's happening, some internal story that then can make it very compelling. And when you do that really well, that's when you get iconic action films, the ones that we can watch over and over because we love these characters, because that man versus man element is very solid. And that's really what separates out the good films from the just, ones that don't really, whatever, we enjoy them, but they're not the ones that live on. So things to avoid in your action film. So we have half as many things to avoid. That means it's really easy, right? So some of the things to avoid, look at Doug go. He's awesome. So You want to avoid repetitive words, commonly used phrases, and camera angles. Camera angles are not something that you include in your screenplay, especially if you are a first-time writer, unless you're planning to direct it yourself. That is, directors can put it because they see the vision already. But in general, you want to avoid camera angles. It just takes us out of the movie because the movie has not been, we're not figuring it out, and it's not very clever. You can get across a camera angle if you just say something like, you can see the bug on his tooth. Like, I don't know what that came from, but so if you say something that's really small, the whites of their eyes, it's going to show, it's going to intuitively make the camera come forward or backwards. If you say off in the distance, we're going to know, the size of a pin, that people look like ants. It's like all those things you can get across where the camera is in a much more interesting way than long shot. It's like you want to try to be as interesting as possible. So avoid those camera angles. Also, you want to eliminate long blocks of description. They have, people talk about readers doing a dialogue only read, or producers only reading the dialogue, and they skip over if they see too much action. Producers might do that because producers are so swamped. That's why they have readers. So the reader has told them already what's happening, and they're just kind of getting the feel for what is it that we need. They're trying to budget it out. There's all many reasons a producer will read a screenplay. So they might, and usually they read it more than once. They might do that to start, and then they kind of start getting in there because they have staff for that. So the staff, the readers, the development executives, they'll dive in and read every single tiny little word. But, so you want to try to capture attention. And there's also, you can guide this reading you can break it up by putting lines of dialogue in. And not only you can put lines of dialogue in that break it up, but can also break it up with letting us kind of know where we are, where it's like the character says something like, come out the back door. Then we know that, okay, we've moved here, or let's jump off the cliff or whatever, jump. Then we know that, it kind of visually sets us somewhere. So that can kind of help break up your dialogue while also cluing us into where we are. So you want to also avoid action scenes, like any scenes that have no purpose, that just end the same place they start. Every scene needs to advance the plot, whether it's advancing the plot of the story or the character's journey, right? So those are some of the things that you want. You want your scenes to make sure that they advance the plot. And then you want to avoid those cliches. So like I said, the reason that screenplays are easy to read when they're not written very well is because they're very, 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 very cliche. And so it's like, oh, right, there he goes. Yep. And then she comes in. Oh, yep. It's like, they become very cliche typically. So you want to make sure that your screenplay is not that. So those are the things to avoid. Okay, so now we want to just do 4 quick things in terms of your life as a writer or your life as a reader, and putting that into how do you make your any screenplay work. But in an action genre, here are some fun things that you can do that will help you write your screenplay as a reader. These are suggestions you can make to writers to help them write that screenplay, and also kind of improve your life, we're hoping to. So basically, have fun with your genre. If you like action movies, have fun with it. Have fun. What are the fun things? What are the things that you love about this genre? Write the things that you love about it. What are the scenes that you love that, again, you don't want to be cliche and pulling scenes from movies you've seen. However, do you love this genre because of all the big places you can go? What are the things that you love about it? Play with that and know yourself. Know the things that you love. And we talk about this a lot. I mean, we actually put personality tests, and we'll put one of those in the links below. When you get to know yourself and you know what your strengths are, write to those strengths. Know what are the things that you love. Don't beat yourself up because you can't write some intimate scene. You can kind of figure that out as you go. Write the things you love first. Write the things that light you up, because if it lights you up, you are going to be talking to the people that are like you. And I guarantee there are people out there that hear you. There are people out there that are like you. If you write the things that you're passionate about, the things that light you up, there will be people that respond to that. Absolutely. So start there. And then if you're having trouble, Be the hero in your own screenplay. Take one little step. What are the things that your hero is going to do? Take that one step. Write one page, one scene, one paragraph, one sentence, one line of dialogue. Write one little tiny thing every day. You don't have to quit your job and move to a cabin and start drinking whiskey to write this screenplay. Just write. Sit down and write. Like, have fun with it. Write a screenplay where the villain wins. Write a screenplay where one of those side characters comes, a stormtrooper suddenly takes over and, takes over the whole thing. There's so many things you can write about within your genre. Have fun with it. Relax and have fun with it. You are a writer. If you're a reader, you're a writer. If you've Googled how to write an action screenplay, you're a writer. Own it, take it, do it. And then the final thing that we want to kind of remind you of is that be your own hero. Be your own protagonist. Like your protagonist, like get to know them, like them, write them in various scenes. You can write a protagonist that's, off on this adventure, and you can take them and write a scene in Starbucks just for fun. Put your protagonist in weird places, because what will happen when you do that, if you take your protagonist out of their hero role and you stick them in a Starbucks for a moment, other things will come out of them that then you can scratch the Starbucks scene, but you can use some of the things that you discovered about that character when you wrote that. That's one of the ways that you can kind of break up writer's block, is just write random stuff. Who cares? Doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be, this is the scene that's going to, win me the Oscar. But if you write that Starbucks scene, those are the elements that will come, that will write you the scene that will win you the Oscar. I guarantee it. Those are the things that because those are the things that humanize and make the things that we will relate to. So be that protagonist, face your obstacles together. If you have things that you're struggling with in your life, throw them on that page, get them on the page, right? Get that thing in your life that's just like, oh, you can't take it, and write it on the page and let your characters deal with it. Take someone in your life that's driving you nuts and put them on the page. It's a way, and then you can let other characters come in and they tell them that thing that you wish you would have said. Do that. Like, take the things in your life that are angsting you out and put them on that page and let your characters deal with them. And then you can pull things. Not everything is going to end up in the screenplay, but it will help you in your life, for one thing, and it's going to get it on the page and get it out of your angsty world. And then that can help you heal so that you can move forward, and you and your protagonist, that's like a story in itself, right? You and your protagonist are arm in arm helping each other through life. You're coming up with things because you're putting your angsty stuff on the page, and it's giving them fuel to fuel them forward. And then they're giving you ideas of how you might handle situations in your life, right? That's our final thing, is be your hero. Be your own protagonist. Face your obstacles with courage and faith. And that's what makes people love movies. That's what gets us going. Be that protagonist. Be that person. So that's what we have for today. We like to end these with things that hopefully get you inspired, that help you come up with ways that will improve your life, get that angst out of your life and onto the page. We don't want it in your life. We want it to be inspiring others. And those are the things that will keep us going, that will write good screenplays, and that will get projects off the ground, right? So go forth, write. Let us know in the comments what you think. Let us know in the comments things that you would like to hear. We'd love to hear from you. Join our Facebook group. Make sure that you subscribe, because then you'll get notified when we have new videos. Hit that bell. That's actually the thing that notifies you. And join us. Join us every single week. We're having so much fun. And keep us informed. All right. We will see you on the inside. We will talk to you next week. We're here every single week. And next week, we're going to talk more about action films, but more about the characters. All right. We will see you then. Talk to you soon. Bye.